Welcome back, everybody. This is Cliff again with our penultimate unit in our boot camp series for Combat by Compass Games. I just want to give a brief overview of the other module that Greg Amos has made for Combat, the one for playing the missions in. This is actually an extension of the module that Nigel Rabbits had originally made. And a lot of the keyboard shortcuts Nigel had started and then Greg extended upon and worked on getting out all of the conflicts. It's really a pretty sweet way of playing Combat. And actually, this is how I play all of my Combat now. I mean, I hardly ever get my cardboard out, though I love playing with cardboard. I just don't have the space. And the setup and breakdown is pretty extensive with all these hundreds of counters. But at any rate, when you pull up the Combat module, you get this, and when you do File, Scenarios, you can do a new game, which you do when you're in your campaigns, because they're not built in, but all of the scenarios for Combat 1 and all of the scenarios for Combat 2 are already in and pre-set up for you. So let's just do Clear Them Out. It's a fun one. I'm not going to play it. We're just going to use it as a demonstration. Takes a moment to load. My Java is slow. And I don't need a log file. And there we are. So Greg has already set us up so that the enemy positions we can draw from Cup A right away. And I'm going to turn on a program called Mouse Pose, which will allow me to show my cursor here a little bit. And it also shows the keyboard shortcuts as I'm typing to make this easier for you to see what the heck I'm doing. So on the bottom of the screen, this is Shift, this is Control, this is Alt or Option on my Mac keyboard, and this is Command. So if I do Control Alt and then whatever, you can see what I'm doing. All right. So as we're set up here in this scenario, they're waiting and they're normal morale. And we're over here setting up. Our setup area is here. We have normal morale. Our setup area is between columns 1 and 4, and we've got a tank that can come in on column 1. You can move them around. So to get rid of stuff like this normal marker that I don't need anymore, that's just Control D, and away it goes. And I don't need this other morale marker over here. Control D. Control D to get rid of that waiting. There are 9 Panzerfausts that we have because they're facing our tank. Now, at the top of the screen here, we have access for all sorts of stuff. Our die roll, a D10, a D6, a D100. We could set our visibility. In this one, it's clear, so our visibility we don't have to set. So we can just cancel that. We have all of the markers, but when I want a marker, I just do Option M. That gets you your markers. Yeah, I've already picked up the wastewater. All right. We've got our turn markers, our turn tab, turn chart, but I do Option T to get that. And that's where I put our Panzerfausts. For me, I don't like them on my map. I'm just that way. I spread them out so I can see what I've got. You can do whatever you want. And technically, according to the rules, you're supposed to use the Panzerfaust marker. If you wanted to play by the rules, you go in here, you go to Utility, no, Enemy, Enemy, Other. And there's a Panzerfaust 60, Panzerfaust level. You put that there. Panzerfaust level 9. And as you use them, you just bump it down. if you're playing like the rules say. All right. Also up here, so that's turns. This is my hand, but I use Option H to get my hand. I like the keyboard shortcuts, much faster for the things I have to do a lot of. These are the friendly markers. We got our friendly regular campaign characters. This is the regular markers that come with the game. Campaign generics, I never use those. Editable campaign, I always use those in the campaigns. And I showed how to set those up last time. When you transfer from your campaign into a mission, you have to reset up your paper soldiers. And then you got your crews, and I'll show you a crew in a bit. German, we got the regulars, the elites, and the crew. This is our graveyard. You can get at that with Option G. This is the routed. And you can get at the routed with Alt Control Z, but I never do that. This is all of our tables for spotting, orders, weapon characteristics, armored fighting vehicle tables, etc. I'm using the playtesting module. I have more tables here than you do. These are the event tables, the generic ones, friendly for attacking, defending, enemy, attacking, defending. This is remove all orders at the end. Order of battle I never use. This is for charges, if you ever have to use charges. German vehicles. Friendly vehicles. This is our confidence tracker. And you set that up like I set it up before when I talked about confidence. Zoom. Overview. This is hide all pieces. I don't use that very much. This is LOS, but I always use Option Q to determine LOS. And yeah, this is take all moves off. So that's everything up high. You can sort that out. The main thing I want to go over here today is some of the common keyboard shortcuts that make your life much sweeter. So let's just highlight a few of these guys. We want to draw from cup A. The way to do that is just do Command A. Takes a few seconds. It's Control A, Cliff. Do it right. Highlight them. Control A. It does take about 5-10 seconds for it to chug through. These are fairly big modules. 3, 4, 5. Come on, boom. There you are. They drew randomly out of cup A. Now these guys come in as unprepared, and to get unprepared, that's Alt Shift P, and they're all tagged unprepared, and they're also waiting, which is Alt W. I have a sheet with most of the shortcuts. You just do that for all of them, they pop right up. So much faster than laying out counters. Now let me bring out a friendly character. Let's say we've got this guy. You take on or off the moved with Control M. If he's hidden, it's Control H. If he gets spotted, it's Control S. So let's say he's hidden. Let's say he moves up here, and this guy can maybe try to spot him. Well, we need to peek at him if he gets a successful spot. So if you want to peek, that is Control P. Oh, he's a real soldier. When you click off, he hides again. So that's a way of peeking without screwing up everything else. If he does spot, he will become alerted. You can either flip this with Control F to alert, or I just Control D it off. D is for delete. C is for clone. Once he's alerted, in a subsequent activation, he will be prepared. That's just Option Shift P again, and he would get his order but not be able to act upon it for another turn. If I do fire, so then I would be spotted, Control S, I would alert everybody around. Shot fired. I generally use this menu instead of Alt Control Shift 1 because that's not a very easy one to remember, but it shows you the radius of everybody who's now alerted. So this guy would be alerted, and this guy would be alerted, and this guy would be alerted. And you can do the keyboard shortcut, which is Control Alt Shift 1. To take it back off again. Okay, now some of the main commands that really save you time, the ones you use the most often, are going to be handling things like your initiative. So in the initiative, that's in the turn tracker. So you pull Option T to pull up the turns. And let's just say we've set our initiative here. Instead of dragging them, which is just going to lead to carpal tunnel, you can do Control and a number. So let's say Abel's 1, Control 1, and then red, Control 2, white, Control 3, Baker, Control 4, blue, Control 5, Charlie, Control 6, yellow, Control 7. Did I not get 6 right? Got to type the right numbers. What can I say? And then, as you're doing your impulse, if you're worried about losing track of where you are, as you've done Able, when you're all done with Able, you can mark that as done. When I'm playing with cardboard, I turn it or I move it up a little bit, nudge it. On here, you can do Control Backtick, which is just above Tab. Control Backtick marks it as done. Done, 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 done. When you're done with that, you go to the next impulse, right? To clear these, it's just Shift Backtick. And they're cleared again. And off you go. Which is really nice. I like that Greg did that. So I do that a lot. So I use that all the time. The other thing I do is move and fire a lot. All of the firing commands are done with Control. You're controlling your weapons. And they go in this order. So you activate this guy. Control 1 is aim fire. Control 2 is rapid fire. Control 3 is suppressive fire. Control 4 is slow suppressive fire. This guy doesn't do slow suppressive fire. I'd have to, let's say I spot this guy. That's Control U, because he's now flipping from unknown to known. He can get Control 4, slow suppressive fire. Control 5 is going to be a grenade. From here on, there's grenades for a while. Control 6 will be our smoke grenade. Seven is smoke grenade. 6 is the rifle grenade, and he's not a rifle grenadier. If I had a rifle grenadier, 6 would be rifle grenade. Control 7. Already did that. Control D to get rid of it. Control 8. Firelight anti-tank if he had a bazooka. And Control 9 is load. So it's all your weapon commands. 8 and 9 are for bazookas. You're mostly going to be using the low numbers. 1, 2, and 3. 4 for your Germans for slow suppress. 5 for grenades. 6 for rifle grenades if you have a rifle grenadier. 7 for smoke grenades. Movement, you're shifting to a new position, so you use shift. And here we use letters as mnemonics. So from slow to fast, let's go sneak. Shift S is shaken, Cliff. Sneak. Shift K for sneak. Evade. Ooh, where did I go? Shift V for evade. Run and gun. Shift U for run and gun. Sprint. Shift P for sprint. For morale, Shift N is normal. If you go up, then it's Shift bold. Shift Y. I think of it like no and then yes for normal, and then bold. Shift A for aggressive. And Shift Z for berserk. If you're going down, it's Shift C for cautious. It's Shift S, as we saw, for shaken, and Shift R for rout. If you're forced to duck back, it's Shift D. Then from that duck back, you can just get the menu and switch it to a hide. That's faster than trying to remember the duck backs. I just right click and do right that to hide as they hide. For wounds, Shift L for light wounds. And Shift B for bad wounds. And I just use the menu here to bandage that. Some things it's just not worth memorizing. The things I do a lot, I memorize. So for all of these morales, and also once you have a bold morale down, you can move it up and down by using control in your bracket keys. As the bracket goes this way, it goes up. And as you go down the other way, it goes down. So if it's facing left, the bracket opens to the right, but it's pointed left, it goes down. So you can do it that way too. But to initially put a morale on, so I hit this guy and he gets a light wound, and he also becomes cautious. That's just Shift L and Shift C, and now he's light wound and cautious. It is so much easier than digging through those menus. I can do this in just a brief click, and I'm done. Off I go. As I activate each soldier, whether they do anything or not, I will either do a Control M and put a moved on him so I know that he's been touched, or else what I often do is I'm coming around with my mouse, I just give him a little tweak, and that'll make him move. So I activate each one. So let's see, what other things? I usually don't memorize the other orders, but the alternate orders, there are a lot of other things that people can do less frequently. Let's get this guy over here, get this marker off. They're all done with Alt. So Alt 1 do this. He's planned, but he's not an officer. Let me get Alt F. Let me get an officer out here. Yeah. Alt 1 is plan. Alt 2 is reload. Alt 3. What is Alt 3 again? Medical aid. We need a medic for that. Alt 4 is search. We don't do that very often. Alt 5 is rally. So I remember the Control 5 is grenades and Alt 5 is rally. That's probably the one I use the most. Guard is Alt 7. Carry drag, Alt 6, usually a sign that your mission is not going very well. Check out the handout for all of these kind of things. Mostly, I recommend this because it's so much easier to play. I use the fire commands a lot. I use the movement commands a lot. I do the exposing people, like draw from cup A, when I'm playing with one of these predefined scenarios a lot. But if you need to, you can boom, boom, boom. That'll be in the cup, not D, not the hand. It'll be in the enemies. Yeah, here's cup A. You can also just draw them out as you need, and it'll draw out randomly. Like I said, easy to Alt Shift P them, and then Alt W them. As you activate them, you can flip them. Control F is almost always flip. Or you can just delete that, and then Alt Shift P to prepare them. Hey, explore, have fun. It's really a fun way to play combat. In my estimation, this is the best way to play combat. And soon, Greg will have all of the new maps loaded in for Volume 1. That'll even be sweeter. Hope that was somewhat useful overview. I'm going to, in the last unit here for our boot camp, attempt to play an error-free scenario to demonstrate all of the things we've talked about and learned together, to be a demonstration, an intentional teaching demonstration of gameplay. We'll see how that goes. I'll see you then. Later.